Do you want to lose weight but struggle to stay committed to a meal plan because you constantly feel hungry? Does food provide you comfort when you are bored, angry, lonely, or sad? If so, you are in the right place. My name is Kristen Jones, and I'm a life coach specializing in emotional eating and weight loss, and I'm also a lifelong emotional eater. I want to provide you with information, motivation, and support so you too can learn to manage your issues with food and develop a healthy relationship with yourself. Welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating Podcast. You can have your you can get your my mind is going blank. You can turn your cameras on. You can turn your cameras off. That is totally okay. I am good either way. I can just imagine I can see you guys. All right. I'm going to ask everybody to stay muted for now, and then we will go from there. I see so many people. Hello, Carrie. Hello, Robin and Julie and Dawn Houston. Good to see you. Tammy, good to see you. All right. It's going to be crowded here, so I'm going to be jumping from one. I have a couple of screens here, so I'm going to be going back and forth from one to the next. All right. Good deal. Hello, Kathy Perez. I see you. All right. Good. Thank you, Kathy. Okay, I will go ahead and give instructions on that as well. Excellent. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Karen McAdams, you're right in the middle of my screen. It's like the Hollywood squares. I mean, that's what I can see right here as I'm looking out at all of you. I'm like, oh, so it's the Brady Bunch, one of the two, depending on how old you are. Those people who remember Hollywood squares. I'm going to ask everybody to stay muted if you don't mind, just so it makes it a little bit easier for me. Okay, I'm going to move that over there and move this over here. Okay, so we will get some logistical things taken care of ASAP, but welcome to Masterclass on eating to satisfied. So we will be going into all of the things about eating to satisfied, what it means, why you need to do it, why it's so important, and how it impacts your ability to manage your emotional eating, but also more specifically how to lose weight. And for any of my clients who are on and are watching today, they will definitely be able to chime in and share just how absolutely vital this skill is, and how it's something that we constantly have to be working on. We can think that we've got it, and I can think that I've got it, and then all of a sudden something emotional happens and it goes out the window, and suddenly you have absolutely no ability to do it. And so we're going to talk about that, what we always need to have when it comes to being able to manage those thoughts, manage those feelings, and all the things that go along with eating dissatisfied, and how all that kind of plays together, and will help you and will guide you and help you as you are wanting to lose weight and manage your emotional eating. So a little bit about me for those people who don't know me. If you've never seen me other than in the on the Facebook Live, where actually I'm not quite as interactive as we are here live on Zoom. I'm Kristen Jones, and I am the proud founder of the Breakthrough Emotional Eating Facebook group, as well as the podcast. And I am the CEO and owner of Kristen Jones Coaching, which is my personal business. And just a little bit of background about me for those people who don't know me. Hi, Tammy. And just so you all know, there's a chat at the bottom. If you've been on Zoom before and you've always wondered what the little chat symbol is down below, that's going to be really applicable. Kathy Perez my invaluable dear friend is on, and she's always on the Facebook lives, and she's on here now. And if you have a question, she will. Oh, there's a bit of a feedback and echo. Huh. Let me see. That probably has more to do with maybe what's going on. If that, again, that's why if everybody can have their, if you can not have your sound on and you just have yourself muted, that would be super helpful. Okay. All right. Thank you. And so you can go into your, go into the chat. If you have a question, you can ask the question in the chat. Kathy will grab it. And then Kathy is fabulous with sending me text messages, and she'll be sending me messages and letting me know what the questions are, just because I don't want to stop and break and be able to kind of get through what I'm going to talk about. So please know that you can always do that. And then at the end, if there's time, then we can do some Q&A, and there'll definitely be some time at the end for Q&A. So a little bit about me, and I don't even know if maybe even some of my clients don't even know this about. There's some things in here that you might know about me, you might not. But I was born and raised in the Bay Area, in San Francisco Bay Area. So I live in California, about 45 minutes outside of San Francisco. I am a lifelong emotional eater. I'm the youngest of 4 kids, and 3 of my siblings or actually 2 of my siblings, myself and 2 other siblings, are still living. I lost my oldest brother to alcoholism 19 years ago, and that becomes very relevant because addiction is, and specifically alcoholism, is very prolific in my family, and so addiction is very much an important factor in my family. I've struggled with emotional issues related to my self-image, my self-esteem, and my self-worth for as long as I can remember. I had what I would consider a significant breakdown in my late 20s. And hold on a minute, Kathy. I'm going to ask a favor of you. If you could take the and if I don't know if you can get the link that I sent you, if you could post that, in the group, let me know if you can do that. And then maybe we can, I have some people who can't get in. So I'm just trying to figure out how to do that. So, and some people said they didn't get the email. So if we could possibly post that in the group, that would be awesome. If you can't, then we'll do it. Yep. She's on it. She's amazing. So I had what I would consider a significant breakdown in my late 20s. And it was the beginning of me turning my life around, but it was just the beginning. And it took a long time from that point. I became a school teacher. I taught for 17 years. I left teaching to start my own business in June of 2017. And at that point, I began to dig into my own food issues. I had had food issues all of my life. I can't ever remember being a person who ate normally, and who had I would look at people enviously who had a good relationship with food. That wasn't me. And so in 2017, I really started to dig in deeply into my food issues, and had seen a life coach previously for some money issues, and then really started to take what I had learned through that experience. And considering that I was starting a wellness business, I figured I needed to get my stuff together before I was able to start helping other people. I did a ton of reading. My go-to authors, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Janine Roth, Melody Beattie, Brene Brown, Jen Sincero, read all of their, as many books as I could about addiction, about self-worth, about self-esteem. And I really started focusing on emotional eating at the end of 2018. I published my first book. And I say first because I am very seriously, I shouldn't even say it, but I'm very seriously thinking and most likely will write another book. But I published my first book in April of 2019. It's called When Food is Your Drug. If you don't have it, Kathy and I can absolutely get it to you. It is an Amazon bestseller, and it is on my my life, my experiences with emotional eating, and then steps that you can take to kind of help yourself with that. I became certified as a life coach with the Life Coach School in September of 2020. I started life coaching school 2 weeks after the pandemic started, which probably couldn't have been a better time to get into life coaching and figure out my own stuff and figure out what I needed help with. And what I do is I help women uncover the root of their emotional eating so they can develop a healthy relationship with food, but more importantly, a healthy and happy relationship with themselves and lose the weight that they want. And that's why we're here. So the topic today is eating till satisfied or eating to satisfied. Now, what does that mean? Well, it's one of the most important concepts that you must learn if you're going to change your relationship with food, because you must learn how to listen to your body and be able to figure out how much food your body needs to either maintain the weight that you want or lose excess weight. And anytime you stop eating dissatisfied, when you kind of let your guard down and you just start kind of eating willy-nilly, you will be eating more food than your body needs. Your body has the amazing ability of being able to tell you exactly how much food it needs in order to be able to either maintain weight or lose weight. It lets you know. We have that natural ability built into us. We had it when we were babies, and most of us lost it. If you're probably on here, you probably lost it, because you probably have seen those people who can have food on their plate or who have a piece of cake and they eat one bite and then they don't eat the rest of it. I don't know how these people do it. That was crazy to me that anybody could ever do that. Not eat everything on your plate. What? That's crazy talk. And that was what I realized, was that I didn't know how to do that. And that I did know that I've watched other people do it. So I know it's possible. That we all have it in us. We just have to relearn it, because we had it when we were babies and we lost it because of just some things our parents did, in the sense of making us happy and child rearing and all that good stuff. And so there is the ability to be able to get that back. And so that's the importance of being able to kind of hone this in, have this skill. So what are you going to learn in today's class? So here's what you're going to learn. You're going to learn the most important part. This is going to sound a little bit odd, but you're going to learn the most important part of weight loss, what it is, and how, if you don't get this issue addressed, it won't matter if you know how to eat to satisfied. So the most important part about weight loss is not eating this. It is one of the most important, but it's not the most important. We are going to talk about that, because I can't talk about eating dissatisfied without bringing this in. And you'll see why as we talk things through. You're going to learn the before, the during, and the after steps of the eating dissatisfied protocol, meaning the steps that you need to take in order to have yourself in a position of being able to eat to satisfied. Third thing, you're going to learn how to heal your relationship with yourself and begin to start talking nicely to yourself. And we will talk about what that means and how all of that relates to what we're going to talk about with eating satisfied. And you're going to also discover your next steps, what you need to do if you are interested in going deeper with this kind of work, and what that would look like and how you can make that happen if that's something you're interested in. So with that said, who has a piece of paper and who has a pencil and something to write with? If you do, yay. All right, good deal. I love that. Love interaction. Yay. Okay, so we want to make sure that we have what we need. We're able to take our notes. Okay, so we can't talk about the eating dissatisfied in isolation, because there's so much more to it than just that. So we have to kind of go back. We have to go back to kind of what I preach. I always preach. And what I preach is that everything starts with our thoughts. Everything starts with your thoughts. It is not about what we are going to talk about today. It's not going to be about food. There's going to be some strategies that I'm going to give you that's going to have to do with food, but this is all not about food. This is about your thoughts. It's about your thoughts about yourself. It's thoughts about your weight. It's thoughts about your ability, what you believe in about yourself. And so everything always comes back to your thoughts. And so that kind of thought cycle is what I call it. So it's called the thought cycle. And the thought cycle is what my clients refer to as CTFAR. So CTFAR is kind of a process that you you take yourself through, that we take ourselves through as things happen, to discover what the thought is that's creating the upset, the anxiety, or the results that we're getting. So C is for circumstance. So everything in your life, everything outside of you is a circumstance. You have no control over it. It's just, it happens, but it's a fact. They are facts. They are facts. We are here on a webinar. That's the circumstance. And that's a fact. Okay. So we have circumstances, and then what is the thought that we have? The T is for thought. What is the thought we have about that circumstance? So if you came on, I'm just going to give this example. If you came on this webinar and you're sitting here right now and I'm talking, and in your mind, you're like, well, this is the biggest waste of my time. I cannot believe that I'm sitting here and she is blah, 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 just going on and on. That's your thought. The webinar isn't upsetting you. I'm not upsetting you. Your thoughts about the webinar, your thoughts about me, and you are totally entitled to think whatever you want to think about me. And I cannot spend a moment concerned about that because I don't have any control over it. None. I hope some of you are listening to that, because I know many of us, and I know I do, we give other people power over our lives and over what we think, what they think about us. Yeah, stop doing that. You cannot give anyone else a moment of your time. Your time is valuable. Your time is precious, and you cannot give anybody else a moment of time about when you're concerned about what they think about you. Yeah, that is insanity, and that is a waste of your time. So we don't do that. So again, your thought about the webinar, if you're like, oh my God, roll my eyes, that's your thought about the webinar. That if you're upset about it, that's not, you can't blame me. That's you. You get to think about it. You get to think your own thoughts about it. So that's the T. The F is the feeling you get. So if the feeling you're having right now is like, oh, get to the good stuff. Come on. Like, I got stuff to do. Talk about this eating dissatisfied. If you're getting anxious, you're getting upset, that's your feeling. And your feeling has been created by the thoughts that you have. Not about me, not about the webinar, not about who's on the call. It's your thoughts about it. And that goes for every single circumstance in our life. The next one is our actions. What are the actions when you're feeling that way, when you're feeling anxious or irritated or upset? How do you act? What do you do? What do you do or don't do? How do you show up? Do you get irritated? Do you jump off the webinar? And that's fine. That's totally okay. You jump off the webinar, that's fine. You write a nasty comment in the comments, that's fine. Whatever. Everybody has their own way of handling things. But that's on you. You get to decide how you want to act. Then the R is for the result. What is the result that you get out of it? You're like, oh my gosh, I've wasted 15 minutes of my life. I'll never get that back. I'm so annoyed. And it could bug you for the rest of the evening. But that's your result. And that's what you've created. And so each of us gets that responsibility. And so the reason why this is so important is when we talk about eating dissatisfied, it is going to become all about your thoughts as you go into your meal, as you're approaching your meal, as you're eating your meal, and after your meal. So that's why we have to understand the whole thought cycle of it's not the meal. It's not what you're doing. It's not sitting. It's what are your thoughts about it? What are your thoughts about what is happening when you're sitting at your meal? What are your thoughts about what's happened prior to your meal? Are you upset? Are I love the phrase, are your panties in a wad when you go into a meal? Probably not the best thing to have happen. So you want to make sure that you're aware. I want you to be aware of what this thought cycle is all about. So again, C is for circumstance, T is for thoughts, F is for feelings, A is for actions, R is for the results that you get. So that needs to be I'd always like to make sure that that's really clear. And again, your thoughts are your responsibility. Next thing, without understanding your thoughts, your behaviors won't change. Without you understanding your own thoughts, your behaviors will never change. You may temporarily, hold on a second. Let me look at, I have to interrupt for just a second here. Kathy, I don't think I can do that right now. Yeah, no, I don't think I can. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so Kathy and I are having our own little technical issues. So without you understanding your thoughts, your behaviors can't change, because your thoughts lead to your feelings, lead to your actions. Your actions are your behaviors. So if you don't understand your thought, that's why it's really important. And it is always important to remember that life is 50-50. Expect life to be hard and get good at life being challenging, and at life being that life is what it is, and that we are going to have 50% of the time where we are experiencing negative emotions. That's life. We cannot experience positive emotion all the time. Just when a thought, when you're feeling badly, it's not like, oh, I'm just going to think positively and everything's going to be okay, and then I'll feel good. You might feel good, but you're not addressing what the issue is, and you're just covering up and you're pushing away the negative emotion. And it's not that you need to dwell in the negative emotion, but we do need to acknowledge it, because life is 50-50. It's always going to be that way. And we can't Pollyanna our life to something different than what it is. The fact is, we're always going to experience negative emotions. And the better you get at dealing with the negative emotions, the easier life will be. The easier life will be, and the easier weight loss will be. Third thing, you must be present. You must learn to be present in your own life. Raise your hand. How many of you feel like sometimes you sleepwalk through your life? How many feel like you sleepwalk through a meal? Like, just like you all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, where did that sandwich go? Like, I was sitting here on the computer having a great time doing my thing. And now all of a sudden, like, my big bowl of ice cream is gone, or the half a carton of ice cream is gone. Yeah, absolutely. We've got to start being present in our own lives. That's not only going to improve our relationships with others, but our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with food as well. You can't be focused on the past, and you can't be looking to the future. You have to stay in the now. And the fourth and the fifth thing. The fourth thing is, your relationship with yourself must be compassionate, and it must be uplifting. That is your relationship with yourself. So if you're saying bad things to yourself, and let's not kid ourselves, there is not one person listening to this webinar who's on it live. And for those of you who are listening and watching it on replay, none of you all are included in this too. There's not one of us that is always talking nice to ourselves. There's not one of us. There's not a person walking the planet that doesn't say bad things to themselves. It's just true. It's just how our brain is wired. But we cannot have that be. We really all need to work on that not being the dominant voice that's playing in our heads, because for most people it is. And you may be thinking, yeah, that's all I hear. And that's okay. That's what your brain is supposed to do, because it's protecting you, but it's not going to make your life. It's not going to help you, one, feel better about yourself. It's not going to improve your self-esteem, self-image, or self-worth, but it's also going to absolutely paralyze you when it comes to losing weight. Because the most important thing, write this down, the most important thing that you have to work on for weight loss to happen is how you speak to yourself. What are the words? What are the voices? What are the things that you're saying to yourself inside your head and aloud? Because many of us, and I'm a victim of this as well. I will say something in my head, or I will say something jokingly about myself out loud, and kind of like make light of it. And it is just as hurtful. It is just as jarring. It does just as much damage. And so we have to be aware. That is something that we absolutely have to be aware of. And we're going to actually do something right now that is that's going to help with that. But it's also going to be something that I want each and every one of you to know that you can use at any point throughout your day to help with kind of the healing of your relationship with yourself. No one has anything wrong with them. No one is broken, but we all throughout our lives have said things to ourselves that have not been kind. And it's important for us to start healing that relationship with ourselves and getting that relationship with ourselves to be back to one that is kind and loving and uplifting and encouraging. And that will allow us to be able to do anything we want to do. And in this case, we're talking about, again, emotional eating and weight loss. So that things that would include that would be affirmations, daily affirmations. I am big into daily affirmations. My clients know that. They have to create affirmations. I want them to be saying affirmations, not just in the morning, but morning, night, throughout the day, making sure that they are saying, they're reminding themselves how amazing they are, how amazing they want to be, and that's already happening, and making sure that those are a part of those affirmations of their daily life. So this is, I'm going to teach you all, and many of you, and some people might, when I do this, I always want to give credit and let you know that I did not create this. This is not an original thing. I actually experienced this at the life coaching conference that I went to last week, and it was not, the person who did it did not give credit to the not to the organization, to where he found it. So I want to make sure that I do, because people were upset about that. Whatever. I want to make sure that you all know that I did not create this, and I will not claim that I did. It is called a Ho'oponopono prayer, and it is a Hawaiian prayer, and it is a Hawaiian prayer for healing. So what I'm going to ask, actually, I'm going to explain it to you first. So there are 4 steps to this prayer, and this prayer is a mantra. It's a mantra that you can say throughout the day at any time. If you catch yourself saying something mean to yourself, you catch yourself doing something that is not in your best interest, or like, oh, I really wanted to eat to satisfy at this meal, and if for some reason it didn't happen, this is what will take you and kind of get you to a place where you feel better. So there are 4 steps to it. The first step is repentance, and that is telling yourself that you're sorry. So letting yourself know that when you say something to yourself that's not kind, we forget to apologize to ourselves. We forget to say that we're sorry. So we need to, like every other relationship, we need to treat our relationship with ourselves just as valuable as we do all the other relationships that we have with other people. We always value other people over ourselves, and that needs to stop. So we need to make sure that we are giving ourselves that same grace that we give to others. So the first step, or the first part of the prayer, is I'm sorry. The second step is to ask forgiveness, and that is just by saying, please forgive me. So we've said we're sorry, and now we're asking ourselves. This is working on ourselves. This is us working on ourselves. It can be used for other people, but in our instance, I want it to be used for us. So we are going to ask for forgiveness because we've said something mean to ourselves. We said we're sorry, and now we're going to ask for forgiveness. So the first step is I'm sorry. The second step is please forgive me. The third step is thank you. We're just thanking ourselves for being the body, being the human being that we are, showing gratitude and gratefulness for all that we bring. So again, say thank you. And the fourth step is I love you. Who doesn't need to hear that? And who doesn't need to be telling themselves that? For many of you, I know that will be very, very challenging to say to yourself that you love you. But it's got to start here. It's got to start today, April 19th. Let's start it, because that needs to happen. So what I'm going to ask each one of you to do is, and I'm doing this. Oh, I'm so glad, Kathy Perez, that you like this. You're going to like this even more now. So what I'm going to ask each one of you to do is, and you are, if you feel more comfortable, you're more than welcome to do this, but you can keep your camera on, or you can turn your camera off. It's totally fine. But what I'm going to ask everybody to do is, get ready, because this is what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask everybody to close their eyes. So just put down whatever you have. Don't have anything in your hands. And I want you to put one hand on your heart, or one hand on your chest, one hand on your chest, and then another hand right on top of it. Okay. So you have your hands. You can't see my hands, but my hands are here. So one hand on your heart, or knee on your chest, and the other hand on your chest. Just have them right stacked on top of each other. Okay. And then close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose, fill your lungs up. Exhale out through your nose, let their air go. I want you to visualize yourself at an age where maybe you were struggling. Maybe you were, I can visualize myself as an awkward middle schooler. I have a picture of myself right here in front of my computer of myself when I was in 7th grade. And think about yourself when you were that little kid. You were most awkward. You just, it just seemed like life was hard. Life was really hard. And I want you to think about her. And I want you to think about all the struggles that she's had and the things that she's gone through in her life. And I want you to give her a hug, because maybe you haven't been there for her the way you would have liked to. And that's okay, because you just might not have known what to do. And that's okay. And that's what we're doing here. So I want you to just give that little girl a hug and tell her, and you can just mouth this. You don't have to say it out loud, but just tell her, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Give her one great big hug one last time. And open your eyes. All right, now we can move on, because now we've brought ourselves back to who we are. And that is going to be something that you're going to be able to do every day, as many times as you need to, whether it's that little girl, whether it's the person 5 minutes before, whether it's you looking in the mirror. We have to remember our relationship with ourselves and how we speak to ourselves is hands down the most important thing that we can do when it comes to our relationship with ourselves. And our relationship with ourselves is absolutely integral to us being able to take care of ourselves and lose the weight that we want and manage our emotional eating. Weight loss does not happen when you are speaking unkindly to yourself. It just doesn't happen. All right. So here we are at the place where we're going to talk about the before, the beginning, and the after. Spell the name of the prayer. Absolutely. Let me have it in my notes. Hold on. It is HO apostrophe OPONOPONO. If you just put in Google Hawaiian prayer for healing, it comes up, and there's tons of information about it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, so we're going to talk about the before, the during, and the after of eating to satisfy. So first step, the pre-meal thinking. You have to decide if, in fact, the first thing you have to do is you have to decide if you're hungry. Like, if you're going to eat, are you really hungry? Like, are you hungry? I'm looking at and I'm seeing some smiling faces here. And some people are like, yeah, sometimes I do eat when I'm not hungry. I think we all do. I know we all do from time to time. So first you have to decide, am I hungry? So has it been 3 to 4 hours since my last meal? Just because it's been 3 to 4 hours, that doesn't mean that we have to eat. We eat only when we're hungry, and when we are truly hungry, and not just emotionally hungry. Are we physically hungry? Again, are you experiencing physical sensations of hunger, emptiness in your stomach, a hollow feeling, a lightness, grumbling stomach? Maybe you're a little cranky. Cranky pants is what I'm oftentimes called. So that is, those are the things you need to ask yourself. You need to also decide, are you eating on plan? Are you eating on plan? Oops. Yeah. So have you decided? So if you are going to eat, are you going to eat on plan? The eating on plan means that so if you are new, eating on plan means you've planned your meals for the day and you are going to stick to your meals for the day. And so that's usually our commitment, is we write down what we're going to have in the morning, and we eat that And we do that to not only honor ourselves, but also to allow our brain to not have to think about food all the time. There's more on that as well. But you have to, again, you decide if you're hungry, then you decide, am I going to eat on plan? And why is it important to eat on plan? It creates security and safety within your brain. It reduces the feelings of being out of control with food if you have planned what you're going to eat. It trains your brain to trust you because you've said you're going to eat, a salad with chicken, and you actually show up and eat a salad with chicken. And it also helps you feel empowered and in control of your own decisions. So you need to decide if you're going to eat on plan. And again, remember, why is eating on plan important? And those are the reasons: safety and security, reduces feelings of being out of control, trains your brain to trust you, and then helps you feel empowered. This is probably the most important question that you can ask yourself. And that is, what is happening emotionally as I'm going into this meal? Am I feeling anxious, upset, irritated? Have I had an interaction with somebody? Am I emotionally charged? Am I upset about something that happened 2 or 3 hours ago? So I'm not going to be present. I'm going to actually be thinking about that while I'm eating. What emotions am I feeling? Because the emotions are going to impact how quickly I eat. And you'll learn why that's so important as well. So again, you want to ask yourself, what's happening to me emotionally prior, as I'm going into my meal? Am I feeling anxious, upset, and irritated? The emotions are going to impact my eating. So I got to pay attention. What am I feeling right now? If you've had a rough day, what's happened? Many of you I know come home from your days at work and you can't wait to eat, but you've got so much stuff from work or so much stuff from an interaction that you had that's still on your mind that you haven't processed, you haven't gotten out, you haven't dealt with. And that will impact how you eat at a meal. It will absolutely impact it. How many of you have had how many of you have eaten after having something upsetting happen, or a discussion that didn't go as well, and you ended up eating way past what you wanted to eat? Absolutely, because you're not present. You're thinking about this other thing. You're irritated, you're angry, and you're like, nope, that's what I'm thinking about. So your food is not where your focus is. You're not able to maintain, you're not able to really focus in on how much should I be eating right now? Because your mind is a mile a minute in this other place, focused on something that at that moment, and probably moving forward, you don't have any control over, because oftentimes we can't change things. Yes. Okay. All right. So then you want to decide that you will be present and you're not going to let the emotions rule the meal. That means you have to be aware that this is happening. So again, as I had said back in the beginning, being present in your own life, super important. We have to start paying attention to what's happening and pay attention to when things get upsetting and when things happen, which again, they're always going to happen. We're aware of it. We're like, oh, okay, this is one of those times. I better clue in here, better pay attention. Probably the most important thing that you can tell yourself before the meal, after you've asked the questions about how you're feeling emotionally, is to tell yourself that you can do it. Like, I am going to eat to satisfied, and that is going to happen. Like, I'm going to do it. I know I can do it. I have the things that Kristen has told me I need to be doing. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that I have everything. I'm going to tell myself, because if you are not your biggest cheerleader and you're like in the background, in the background, your subconscious is kind of like, yeah, you've screwed this up every time this week. The likelihood of this happening, of you doing it correctly, not very high. If that's what's playing in your head, of course, you're not going to be able to, that's not going to be inspiring to get you to be like, oh, yeah, of course I'm going to do this. No, it's going to defeat you. You have to come in with like, we can do this. We absolutely can do this. I've got this. I know what I need to do. Okay. So that's prior to meal. That's what you need to be doing. So during your meal, the actual actions that you need to take. There are plenty of them. And again, you can pick one, you can pick all of them. It depends on, it depends on you. It depends on, some people get overwhelmed and it's too many things to think about, and that's okay. Just pick one. But eating slowly is really, really important. If we eat too quickly, we miss those very, very important body cues that our body gives us that we have had enough food. But 20 minutes seems to be kind of the golden time frame of your body being able to send the message from your stomach to your brain that you've had enough. It takes about 20 minutes. If you're a person like me who eats a meal in like 4 minutes, yeah, that is so long gone. Like it's never happening. Like that's like that. I'm into like my third round of food before I ever get a moment of, oh yeah, you probably have eaten enough. And by that time, it's like, I'm like, put the sweatpants on. I mean, I'm way past having jeans on anymore. Now it's like, get the elastic waistband out, because we've gone way, way, way past. So eating slowly is absolutely paramount. You have to be able to eat slowly. So what does that look like? Because for those of us who are not slow eaters, it is incredibly challenging. First thing, eating slowly is super boring. And I'm just going to tell you straight up, it's super boring because you don't want to have any distractions. So no computer, no phone, no books. It's you and your meal. And I will tell you, you and your meal is boring. Like it's like, oh God, this is not very exciting. This really is not very exciting. But if you don't have the computer on, if you don't have other things entertaining you, but that's where you get that false pleasure of like, oh, this is so fun. This makes me feel so good. I feel like I'm not alone because I've got Vanna and Pat, and we're guessing letters. This is awesome. They're my friends. Yeah. This is like a party. No, we got to be present, because then the party happens and we're like eating stuff that we shouldn't, that we've gone way past it. We just can't do that. So no distractions. Sitting down I'm sorry for those of you who think that standing at the counter is eating dinner. That's not. We got to sit. We got to sit at the table. And I see some people on here who I know eating at a place setting is very challenging for them. Eating at a place setting at a table with like a knife and a fork, that's hard. But we got to do it. We've got to start bringing ourselves, because we also have to honor ourselves that we are important enough to take the time to sit our fannies down and be at a table. You're important enough to do that. You have it. I'm sure all of you have a table at your house where you get to sit, and you have a nice little place setting. You get to sit wherever it is, but you get to sit down and eat and be undisturbed and not distracted. So that's the first thing. No distractions. You want to put your fork down after each bite. You take a bite, and I don't care how many times you chew it. I think that's kind of gross to tell you how many times you chew your food, but you just need to put your fork down and absolutely start tasting your food, because many of us don't taste our food. We inhale it. And I'm going to say, I am like super victim to that. I'm really good at that. So I'm just going to tell you, I'm really good at that. So we have to make sure that we are chewing our food and we are actually tasting it and putting our fork down. Drinking water. Unless you have been instructed by your doctor to not drink water during meals. I know that for people who have had weight loss surgery, who have had any type of weight loss surgery, it is not recommended to drink water with your meal. That is, if you're, depending on what weight loss surgery you had, depending on the size of your stomach, it's not recommended that you drink water in between, as you're eating, unless you've been instructed by a doctor. I want you drinking during your meal. So drinking water during your meal, drinking water before, drinking water after, that will slow things down. Again, taking the time, trying to make your meal anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes, having some conversation like, hey, how about we talk? How many of you, just out of curiosity, how many of you eat dinner with your spouse or significant other? Or, okay, do you like them? I'm seeing some people nod, some people aren't. Okay, if you like them, you should be talking to them during the meal. Julie Pitts, I know you like your husband. I know Matt is fabulous. And so we need to be having conversation. We need to stop and we need to be like, hey, what'd you do today? That's a great shirt. I think I bought it for you. It makes your eyes come out, whatever it is, but have some conversation. Talk to the people that you are having your meal with, talk to them. That's going to slow you down. Okay. So, and also be aware that if the conversation starts to go south, that doesn't mean you have to end the meal, but you do have to be aware of like, okay, if I start to get I start to get anxious or I start to get upset, we have to make sure that we remember that it's okay for, that we get to be in control of what we're eating. We don't get to turn that control over to anybody else. So we slow down. We make sure that we're present during our meal. Throughout the meal, you want to make sure that you also are talking to yourself like, I can do this. I can do this. How do I feel throughout my meal? One of the things that I like to do with how my clients do is when they first get their food, whatever they've served it for themselves. And serving sizes is a whole different masterclass. We're not going to touch that. But whatever you've served for yourself, or if you're at a restaurant, my recommendation is always this. You split the meal in half, either visually or literally with a knife, with a fork or a knife, divide it in half, eat the first half slowly, putting your fork down each time you bite, talking to the person that you're eating with, drinking some water, eat the first half. Then give yourself between 5 to 7 minutes just to sit with the food. If you're at a restaurant, that is usually pretty easy, just to sit there. Sometimes you've got to like fight off the waiter who wants to come and take your plate away. I mean, like, protect your plate. He'll be like, hey, do you want to box it up? Not yet. Pocahontas, back off. Just let me hang out here. I'm going to hang here with my food. You just got to protect yourself, protect your food, and then give yourself time. And then you ask yourself, am I still hungry? Would I benefit? Do I want to eat more food? And if you do, that's totally fine. You can start in on the second half of your meal. But what you do on your second half of your meal is you take a bite, you put your fork down like you've been doing, you put your fork down, and each time you ask yourself, could I eat another bite? Or could I stop? Would I be okay if I stopped? And we still have a whole half of our meal left. That doesn't mean we're throwing it away. Oh no, I am not a proponent of wasting food at all, but I am a proponent of taking care of yourself. And that means that we can pack that up and we can have it tomorrow for another meal. So we have to be sure that we're careful about that. I don't want anybody to think that I'm all about throwing food away, but I am about making sure that you're taking care of yourself. So doing that and dividing that up. So you ask yourself, and sometimes maybe you are especially hungry, or serving size was a little bit smaller. Maybe you'll eat the whole thing. That's fine. You can eat the whole thing. I do always try to ask people to leave at least 1 to 2 bites on their plate. Try to leave 1 to 2 bites each meal behind and not to eat it. Because it's just, it's psychologically, it's something important that we don't have to clean our plates. We don't have to eat food if we're not hungry. And we need to start getting into the habit of thinking, I get to leave some food on my plate because I don't have to eat all of it, because I get to make that decision. I get to make that control. I get to decide that, not the other way around. The food doesn't get to decide that I'm going to eat all of it. That's not going to happen. So we've gone through our meal. We are trying, we have split it in half. We've eaten it slowly. We've paid attention to what we're thinking about during our meal. We're actually communicating with the person that we're having our meal with, and we're paying attention, again, being present. And then we get to the end of the meal and we're like, yep, I'm good. That's it. We're good. I'm done. Immediately, if you get up from the table and you've left a couple of you've either left food on your plate, or you're feeling like, the way I always view it is, I always know if I've eaten dissatisfied is if something were to happen and I had to run to somebody, like I wouldn't get a cramp. I wouldn't all of a sudden be like, oh, like I ate too much food. I'm going to get sick because I've eaten too much food and I can't run to help somebody. If I can do that, I'm like, I'm good, totally good. What I want you to do is, if that happens and you end your meal and you're like, oh my gosh, I left two bites on my plate and I'm feeling really good, but I'm feeling satisfied, but I'm not full. For some of you, that might be kind of scary, but you're going to be okay. You get to that point and you're like, I'm good. I want you to celebrate the heck out of yourself. And that means, like, tell yourself, like, good job. Like, that was really awesome. You did that. Jump on the Facebook page and say, you know what? I just ate and I stopped and I left 2 bites on my plate, and I've never done that before. Or I've never gotten up from a meal without thinking I needed a nap because I'm like headed for a food coma. No, celebrate that, share that. That is a big deal. We as women do not celebrate ourselves enough. You need to celebrate every single victory, and eating dissatisfied at any meal is a victory. So I want to start seeing posts on the in the group. We're going to get inundated now. I want Kathy, I'm sorry in advance, because I know that we're going to be like hammered with these. Oh my God, I ate dissatisfied, but that's awesome. That's what I want. Celebrate yourself. When you do it, start making it a big deal. Make it a big deal. Pat yourself on the back. Tell yourself you did a good job, because you did. And so then after your meal, what you want to do is you want to, like, you want to recap? Like, what did I do? Like, why did that work? What did I do? Because it wasn't somebody else. It wasn't me. It wasn't anybody else but you. So you celebrate, and then you get back to work and you write down, what did I do to make that happen? Because I want that happening every stinking time I sit down at a meal. I want that to happen because I feel in control. I feel good. I feel empowered, and I know I can do this. That's what I want. So you have to, and only you can do this. You get to go back and say, okay, what did I do? Let's write down the steps that I did. What were the key things that I did during that meal that made it so I was successful? And again, what you're doing is you're telling yourself, I was successful. Good job. You did it. And I don't think there's anyone listening to this who doesn't hear that enough. I mean, I know for me, I always want to hear that. You always want to hear it. We don't hear it enough. Good job. But good job, when you say good job for yourself, that's when you want to hear it. And that's where you need to hear it. It's great hearing it from other people, but the most important person you can hear it from is from yourself. So that is super important. And really, that's it. It is that. I mean, I think that last piece, do not sleep on that last piece. That is the really important one, because we have to celebrate. We have to let ourselves be celebrated and let ourselves feel good about the accomplishments that we're making. We are doing things for ourselves. And if it doesn't go well, or you start to beat down yourself, you've always got your prayer to go back to. But we have to start uplifting. We have to start we have to start empowering ourselves and telling ourselves we can do it. Instead of talking mean, instead of talking negatively about to ourselves, about ourselves. That's what most of us have done. And that's what most of us have had done to us for most of our lives. And it hasn't worked. And that's because it just doesn't work. And so we've got to come at it from a different way. And this is the way to come. We've got to start feeling better about ourselves, because when we feel better, when we feel good about ourselves, we make better decisions. We make good decisions about how we take care of ourselves, how we love ourselves, how we treat ourselves, what we say and what we do. And that overrides anything else that we can do. Anything, all the other stuff, all the, well, should I eat cauliflower or should I eat broccoli? I'm not sure which of those things is better for me. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Just talk nice to yourself. That's pretty much, that's just be kind. Just be kind to yourself. That's probably that's really the most important thing. And again, celebrate yourself, celebrate every single day, every single victory. And I'm also going to say, you know what, for those people who feel like maintaining your weight is like a loser. Like that's a lose. No, it's not. No, it's not. Maintaining your weight is not a loss. That's not a day. That's not a day that you're like, oh, I maintain my weight. Really? No, no. Every day that you are honest and honor yourself and you take care of yourself, it's always a victory. Always a victory. And even when you gain, it's even, and we definitely need to do one about the scale. I'm going to tell you that we're going to do one of these about the scale, because that is a haunting. That's a haunting thing for most of you and most of us. I mean, myself included, for sure. So that's y'all. That's all I got on that subject. So if that was, I'm hoping that was helpful. That you had kind of a step-by-step kind of plan for what you need to do. I hope that kind of laid things out for you. And again, for those of you who you may going back to the thought cycle. If you're going back to the thought cycle and you're like, yeah, not what I was expecting. She didn't say anything about, she didn't say anything about carbs. Why? Yeah, because I don't care about carbs. I just, I just don't. I just care more about how you feel about yourself and how you treat yourself and what you say to yourself. That's the important thing. That's what's going to make changes. Because if we don't get rid of the mental weight, we don't get rid of the physical weight. It won't happen. It won't happen, or it'll happen and then it comes right back on. So if what we've talked about today is something that you are like, sounds kind of interesting. I'm intrigued. She's kind of crazy, but I think what she's saying makes sense. If you're feeling that way and you're thinking that, and you have not worked with me, and that's that, you'd like to learn more, please, all I'm going to say is, y'all know where I am. Send me a private message. I completely always leave it up to anyone who is interested, and anyone who wants to talk to me about what it looks like to work with me. Any of the ladies in the group, anybody who's on who works with me. I mean, I don't know. I try to make this fun. I think we have weekly calls. They're reasonably entertaining. I'm usually always telling some sort of random story or something like that. I haven't even talked about what's happened with my boy. My boy has been home for 2 days, and oh my goodness. Oh my, but I'm not going to share anything like that right now. But because this isn't about Jackson, but I just, if that's something that you're interested in, just send me a private message. Send me a private message and just say, hey, like to know. I mean, anybody who works with me knows. I give you the information, and it's your decision to make. You don't get harassed. You just don't. And anybody on here who I've sent something to, I think you can vouch for me. I don't chase people. I like to help. So I like to help people out. So again, if it's something that you're interested in learning more about that, the 21-day Jumpstart program is the kind of the entryway into working with me and into getting a little bit more of an in-depth look at what it is to kind of put all of these pieces together. There's a whole lot more behind it. This is just one little concept that we talked about today. And so you can just please send me a private message and I'll send you some information and you get to make the call on that. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that it was, if anything, entertaining, and that you can get something out of it. I think there's lots of things that you can do right now that will really help. That, like you can go to, depending on where you are, for those of you who are on the East Coast, it's late. You should have already eaten. I'm going to go ahead and mute y'all. But you should have already eaten. But if you haven't, if you're on the West Coast and you haven't eaten, you can try any of these things tonight. You can try them tomorrow morning. These are all steps that you can take right now to start moving yourself towards the process of learning to eat satisfied, as well as learning to heal your relationship with yourself. Because again, that's got to be the focal point moving forward. Okay. Let's see what time it is. Oops. Hold on a minute. I do want to answer some questions. So let me just hold on a second. I actually have somebody who's waiting for me. So hold on. Do we have any questions in Kathy? Are there any questions in the okay. Kathy, do we have any questions or anything that I can, oh gosh, we have lots of comments, lots of chat things in the chat room. I can't, once we close out the chat, then those things go away. So I can't see them all. If there's anyone, actually, if anyone wants to raise their hand, I'm going to actually go to the other side. If you want to raise your hand, if you have a question, and I'll unmute you and you can ask your question. No specific questions. All right. Good deal. Thanks, Kathy. All right, y'all. Well, then have a wonderful Mary MK. Love seeing your big smile there. Love seeing you there. All right, everybody, have a wonderful. Oh, it's so nice to see like faces to names here. I'm seeing Joyce Clark. I didn't know Joyce Clark was on this call. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. All right. Hello, Valerie. I see all these little smiling faces. Oh, hey now, easy there, Tiger. Somebody's getting really excited. Okay, so I am going to go because the dog is kind of going nuts. So you all have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we'll see you on the podcast on Thursday. And again, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that's 6 p.m. on the East Coast, a little earlier than usual. That's our new time. So we'll see you all then. My clients who are on here, we'll see you on Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 o'clock on the East Coast for our group coaching call. Okay. All right, everybody. Have a good night. See y'all. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. For more information on emotional eating and losing weight, please go to www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough and join the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community. I hope to see you soon.